Welcome back to the Gateway RV Podcast. This is Justin. I'm here with Jordan, and we have Kevin with us today. Welcome. We're going to be talking about some of our ideas about how to be more professional and developing in this career as RV transporters. And so I've got some ideas. Jordan's got some. We're going to get Kevin's take and see how it goes.
Okay. Yep. And for those of you who are just finding this one, if you want to get Kevin's full episode podcast, I think that's the first episode that we released. Is a little bit of Gateway's story.
Wow.
So go back and listen.
Was I there when that happened?
I think so.
All right.
Well, I'm going to go through just rapid fire a few ideas, and this is pretty specific to what we do. But the first thing is calling ahead. So really, this is just the general principle is communicating. So if you want to reliability and communication, and when there's issues, you call and there's transparency. So some examples of this is when, and this would apply in other settings as well, is just be honest with your timelines on when you're expecting to be somewhere, or if there's an issue, just own it, call in. And so as far as just developing professionally with your communication, be proactive, be clear, be honest, and just be correct in your assessments.
Yeah. How often have we ever had a dealership call us because the driver over communicated?
Yeah, I've never had that. You could do that theoretically, but it's generally not going to be a problem.
Right. I don't know if I've had that be a scenario that we've come across.
Well, and I think too, you want to make sure you talk to the right person too. Say, hey, I'm bringing in a trailer. Who do I talk to about this? Because sometimes it's on the sales side, or sometimes it's service. And then when you get there, like, hey, nobody ever said. So, it's just making sure you talk to the right people. And I take names because it's good to say, who am I talking to? Well, this is Jay. Hey, Jay, I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just part of it. Yeah.
Which I think, that kind of goes along with humanizing as well. So like, is a general principle in life that I think just makes you happier is you see people rather than just an obstacle to overcome. So treat people well, treat people like people.
It's really easy to get caught up in the idea, because sometimes in our business, we don't feel like we get treated that way. And so then we just almost reciprocate that. Mm-hmm. It's like, they treat me like I'm just an old truck driver, and I'm going to treat them that way.
I think like when you have experience with something, so like Jordan, we all three have done in the past door-to-door stuff. And so I have a lot more sympathy for people that are going through that. Not that you can't be like anybody who would get annoyed if you're waking up a baby or, whatever, you're still a person as well. But I think when you've done something similar to someone else, you appreciate what they're going through. And so like I know certain businesses, like when we're trying to strengthen a relationship with dealerships, sometimes the sales guys appreciate the effort that you're making, that you're trying to connect. And so versus like a receptionist often tries to blow you off, but like sometimes certain salespeople, like they appreciate that. So I think in the same sense, like we can appreciate, on our side, the Amazon delivery guy.
But even in your example, the receptionist too is a person who's been instructed to basically gatekeep.
Yeah.
And so understanding that their job is to try to free up the time of the rest of the office by pushing off the random salespeople that walk in.
Yeah.
And understanding that also helps. I think it does two things. One, it helps you humanize them and you're not treating them poorly, but also your interaction with them when you walk away from that is a better experience, and you have an easier time maintaining the right mental framework that you want, instead of leaving there being like, that crazy guy wouldn't let me in. Understanding the way that you frame it in your mind, I think, can help you walk away from that scenario with, a better attitude.
Yeah. Not to get off on a tangent, but I think as you are looking at people in their day, it's a personal challenge for me to walk into a grumpy person. Why are they grumpy? And then you're like, did he have an argument with his wife before he left? What's going on in his world? But it's a personal challenge to get them to come out of that a little bit, telling a bad joke, or just for me, it's like mission accomplished when I can crack a smile. Maybe all I get is a smile out of that guy, or just a slight chuckle. But it's when you're meeting up with those people, realizing their days are crazy and all the things that are going on, but it's part of enjoying this experience and playing games along the way. Can I get that old geezer to crack it?
Yeah. I like that life is a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you
Full
off
of winners
Yeah.
and losers, except for it's not a game, and we're
And we're
all
all
losers.
losers. Yeah. But I think like viewing everything like opportunity, it puts you in a better mindset like that. Even if you don't get the smile, the attempt on what that does for you.
Yes, because then you walk away from that and you're headed back home or whatever. Your attitude's better. You're just, I think it makes it more fun.
Do you know, and this probably isn't the right crowd for this, including myself, what those background players on video games are called?
NPC, non-player.
NPC?
NPC.
NPC.
Yeah. N, non.
So like, but in real life, you're the NPC of somebody else's life movie. Like you're the extra in the background, but like each one of those extras has all the same problems with you. They're worried about their jobs and their family and getting to soccer practice on time and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like I think that's a fun thing to remember. Like Jordan, you've told me this before, and I kind of like this. I use this as an example fairly often. Is you're sitting at a traffic stop next to somebody. That's probably the only time you will ever have with that person. And so in a sort of kind of weird way, it's kind of a beautiful moment. It's like that. This is the only time where our adventure stories align, and so you can look over in the window and give them the cool nod, and like they're part of your story.
It's funny that you say it because just yesterday, I'm at a light. I'm in my own zone, and nobody has eye contact. When you're at the red light, it's that line. It's like a race to see who's going to get out of there first, whatever. But I looked over, and a guy looked at me. We looked at just about the same time, and you could see us both coming out of our fog to realize I'm looking at another person eye to eye. And then he sticks his tongue out just gently, and it was hilarious. I was disappointed that there wasn't another light that we could meet up with, but it just changed everything. But, realizing that,
It's we all have this evolving and revolving universe that we are the center of.
yeah.
And these universes come in contact with other universes, and it can kind of be a shame. I don't know. You also have to be realistic. You can't have a meaningful conversation with every single person in the grocery line every single time. I mean, that's not going to happen. But knowing that that's a universe full of its idiosyncrasies, that you can appreciate a little bit.
Yeah. So in like tying this in, kind of one of the principles which we are big time fans of. So Jocko Willink's extreme ownership. That I think is one of the biggest things. Is just like owning your role in something. And so one of the things when I in CDL school that the instructor frequently said is, you're driving for everybody on the road. You're not just driving. You're driving everyone's vehicles. He's like that when you're the professional driver, you're expected to be the professional driver, and you kind of have to go in thinking that everybody else isn't paying attention and that you need to drive safely on their behalf as well. And so this idea of like, I think that's a good principle that he adapted, the principle of extreme ownership adapted to what we're doing, is that you don't get to control other people. So you're in charge of being safe. You're in charge of being calm. If you run into a irate person, you don't get to control how other people react. So focus your energy and attention and effort onto how you are going to respond. And so it also helps, I think, what's kind of emotionally regulating, that no one else gets to control my emotional response, is that you can do anything. I'm the one who decides how I'm going to react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the next thing I have on my list is in developing being professional, which, just to give a little bit of context, kind of my personal mission within Gateway is, delivering freedom and adventure with expert class. And so kind of breaking down that expert class, that professionalism is a huge component of what I think that is. And so Gateway, that's kind of what we're striving to do, is we want to be experts within our field. And so one element of that is continually learning. And so if you're wanting to expand and thrive within your profession as an RV transporter, is that you're still learning, and so you're developing. And so whether that's, I really like learning about the industry as a whole. Even though I'm not involved in the RV manufacturing process, it is kind of nice to have a little bit. I don't go deep into the weeds, but I try and kind of keep up on what's going on with the dealership side. Most of the things that dealers worry about and think about don't affect our business. That doesn't affect our business. but it is kind of nice to understand some of the things that are going on there. So, for example, this morning we were talking about that. Josh, the RV nerd out of Bish's RV in Coldwater, Michigan, he pumps out some really cool and interesting takes on the industry that I think is very well informed and well captured. But one of the things that he was talking about was looking at the retail numbers, because we track shipment numbers, and so it's kind of interesting. They're obviously they go hand in hand. There's a strong correlation there, but learning about that kind of stuff I find very interesting.
What's the catchphrase again? Say it again.
Delivering freedom and adventure with expert class.
Yeah, with expert class. I like that, and I like the idea that it really doesn't matter what your profession is. If that's the attitude that you have, be the best at what you can be in that industry, wherever you are. Makes your journey so much nicer.
In our particular corner of the world, it's not there's a lot of companies that pop up and a lot of small companies that disappear every year.
Yeah.
And there's a handful that have been around for a long time and that will probably be around for a long time. And so trying to set yourself apart by just providing a premium service. And to be honest, when we have competitors that are just on it, that only makes us better too.
Yeah.
And so we could kind of sit here and wish that all of our competitors were just terrible people, terrible professionals, really didn't do any of these things, but that's really not good for our industry. We want the industry to thrive. It's good to have good competition. And we want to be that also for other companies.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I think that's why, this industry was once viewed as just kind of, somebody's got to pick up these trailers, and it's really a career for some people now. You can really make a living doing this and do well with it. But it is, like you say, you've got to have the right mindset for it. But
anyway. And really every one of our competitors that I've met, I think these are good people. I like them.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that the people that were in this race. So we're opponents or competitors, but we're not enemies. It's not like I wish any ill on them. And frankly, after meeting a lot of people, we've been in this game for a long time. The more people I meet, the more I like these people. I can see why their business is successful. They're honest, they're relatable, they were human, and genuine. And so, yeah.
We had a big competitor one time as we were sitting there talking about things, and he says, "There's not enough trailers for me to haul all of them. My goal isn't to be the only guy moving trailers. My goal is to be in business with people who see things like I do so that we can make this a better business. So if we're watching each other, there's enough business for everybody. If we're all playing nice, helping each other out, there is that competitive edge, and that's what drives us to want to be better. Don't lose that, but also help the industry by not being a stinkweed."
And I think the invisible hand of the way that the world works is poor players are going to get weeded out eventually.
Yeah.
I was watching soccer practice yesterday with a team who's practicing, and they're competing against each other. And the kid who kind of is the bully is the one that nobody wants to play with at the end of the day. And so if you have competitors, like drivers that hire on, they get a sense of that. If we are unethical or don't care or whatever it is, those I don't expect that we will last very long. And so I think that it works itself out anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
And I would hope that people would give us the same grace that we're striving to give other people. So anytime that you would open your mouth and talk about being professional, it's like, well, anybody that knows me would think, well, there's been plenty of times that I haven't been professional. I haven't communicated clearly, or so. I'm not perfect at this. So, but I don't think that negates the value in still expressing the idea. And so even though no matter what somebody's delivering an important message, they're not perfect either. And so hopefully you're listening to this and you're like, I've worked with Justin plenty of times and he's not any of these. Hopefully that's not true. Hopefully I fairly well embody these principles, but I also think it's important to just kind of acknowledge we're still working on all of this stuff too. So the next thing I have on here kind of goes in hand with learning, and it is continue to advance your capacity. So you could look at getting into multiples, getting a fifth wheel if you don't have a fifth wheel, getting the ability to do gooseneck, have an auxiliary tank, get your passport,
get a CDL,
get your CDL. Yeah. So expand your value, and it will expand your opportunities. The more you can do, the more you'll be able to do, and the more money you can make and potential you could have for developing your career.
We see that when we're hiring people. there are some people come in and they are very desirable. You want everything you can do to bring them on because they come with all the things. I mean, they're plug and play ready, and then there are those who are not. They're just not ready for this industry, and because we're investing time in people, and so it kind of works both ways.
Yeah. A couple other things. This is another principle, I think, is developing a mindset, and maybe this is more generic, not specific to RV transporters, but getting things done now. So this kind of do it now, not procrastinating, getting things. So like, I'm trying to think of an example that off the top of my head, but you have something that needs done. Just do it as soon as you can. Just get it off the list.
Well, I saw this thing of if it's like a one-touch principle. So you get home, you take off your coat, and you throw it on the couch.
Yeah.
That movement, if you would just put it away the first time, you're only touching it once instead of it twice. And in the meantime, it's also tidy. So, because I'm not particularly great in this field too, of just if I just do it now, I'm not going to have to do it later, and I already have it in my hands. I already have what I'm supposed to do in my head. If I do it now, I'm not going to have to revisit this in 2 days. When I have to do it, it'll already be done. And in the meantime, I'll have that a little bit of more, I don't know, mental clarity or bandwidth, or my space is tidy because I took care of it immediately.
Yeah.
It's like me. I have shoes in every room because
You never know when you're going to need shoes, though.
That's right. You might end up in slippers on one day because you can't find your shoes. Yeah. Anyways, I love it.
So we kind of talked about this, but just if you're trying to evolve as well, any job you're working with people, this is a job where most of the time you're in a truck by yourself. And so the only person you have to really get along with is yourself or your dog.
Which might be the hardest relationship of all. you with yourself.
You and yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're still going to have to interact with people, dealerships, the general public at gas stations and things. And so try to, if you're wanting to maximize your enjoyment of this career, and really any career, is have positive interactions, not negative ones. So there's tons that you could go into that stuff. Smile, remember people's names, give people courtesy, just be general pleasantness. So if you're trying to be more professional, the way that you interact with people is going to be a big one. We kind of touched on this, but keeping the truck clean kind of goes in hand with that. Just take care of it now. Whenever you fuel up, just get in the habit of keeping things clean. A story that I really like, which I think you were the first person to introduce this to me, Jordan, but is Shackleton. Are you familiar with Shackleton?
Keep going. Yes.
When I heard his story, like the first time, I just think it's kind of amazing. So just to give the very summarized version of it and then connect it to this principle, is Shackleton's this pretty intense explorer from like 1910 maybe or something like that. Do you know?
It's been a while since I read his thing.
Okay, well,
yeah,
like 100 years ago, and they were trying to be the first people to cross Antarctica, right? And so, but what happens is their boat gets stuck in the ice, and it's this crazy story of him and his crew and what they did to survive, and all of them survive miraculously. And it's a really, really cool story. So if you want to look into it, it's quite interesting. Come ask me, and I'll send you this. The podcast that I listened to, it kind of condensed his story and showed some of the highlights, and it's pretty awesome. But one of the things that I liked about his story was they maintained a standard of professionalism that allowed them to keep their sanity, which kept them alive. So because they maintained some discipline and structure to their routine, that's what saved them in these crazy conditions, surviving the winter in Antarctica on a boat. And then it's a crazy story. And I'm a big fan of that story and Shackleton's leadership. And I think has a lot of examples of things that you can do.
I wonder if you could juxtapose that with, I read another book where the exact same thing happens.
Dies.
Not everybody, but they go, it's called The Madhouse at the End of the World or something like that. And people go crazy. Yeah, but it's still interesting book, but different.
Well, and it's kind of cool. Like one of the stories is a dude falls in this crevice of ice, and the ice is moving, and Shackleton reaches in, flings him out right before the ice crashes in. And like one of these guys, somebody stowed away on the boat, and he was ticked off about it. But the kid survived. He lost his leg. I don't remember how or whatever, probably frostbite or something. But so it's kind of a crazy story. But keeping this. Discipline.
Sounds bad. Cool. It's like, what's for dinner?
Well, penguin. They had a lot of penguin.
Kind of interesting. So I'll just blast through a few things, and I'll pass it off. I know I'm talking a little bit too much here, but so keep your truck clean. Cleanliness is a big sign of professionalism. Is generally a pretty good indicator of how much you have your crap together.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of your health too. I mean, so again, that kind of comes down to that discipline. Is you follow a program, you stick to it, and that matters. Being courteous in the way that you drive and conduct yourself. Being disciplined and professional with your maintenance program. Same thing. So you've got a system and a structure, and you follow it. And so those are kind of the principles that I had.
Well, mine touch a lot on the same things. So I'll kind of go through and add any ideas. But the first one that I had was the same first one that you had, was communication, and clear communication. That I think is just a skill that everybody needs to have and really needs to, be prevalent in the way that you conduct yourself. Time management and punctuality, I think, is a good one. This really connects with the first one too, of be there when you say you're going to be there. And if things change, which they very well may, that's fine. Usually just communicate that. The thing I always have in my head is when somebody calls you, hey, how close are you? 5 minutes, but you're really 25 minutes. That's not really fair to either one of you, because the other person's going to be planning based off of what you've told them. I'm 5 minutes away, when in your mind, you're just trying to soften the disappointment of how far behind schedule you are. Well, they might have been able to make an accommodation that would suit you both better, but if they don't know it, then then it's not going to work. So be clear, be honest, but do your best to be punctual and manage your time appropriately. If you have a scenario, or maybe a pattern of leaving, you want to leave for a trip first thing Monday morning, and every single week it's not till 2:00 in the afternoon that you leave because you just have a difficult time managing your Monday morning, then change it up so that you can be the type of professional that you hope to be. Attention to detail was another one, and paperwork. Things that people hate is one of those things, is paperwork. But if you want to be and act professional, let your paperwork reflect that. That's another one of those Jocko things of getting in trouble for not having clear enough paperwork. And so he said, I'm going to make this so detailed that they are going to tell me to tone it down. How good my paperwork is. They're not that they'll be like, okay. Now, I'm not saying you need to spend 6 hours of filling out your inspection report form. That's not practical. That's not very good time management. But we see a lot of paperwork come through that you can tell that the driver didn't fill it out, didn't put their name on it, didn't sign, whatever it is. Just take the time to make sure your paperwork is done appropriately. I think that has a reflection on your professionalism.
I think it goes along with what you said earlier about if you put something away at that moment, because a lot of times it's like, well, I'll take care of that later. I'll fill this in later. And then next thing you know, it's out of control. And not only that, it frees you up. Once that's done and done right, then your mind is
because it's the same with your logbook,
right?
Which is another one of, it's easy to, okay, I'll get caught up on my logs tonight, or when I get home, or before my next trip. Well, inevitably something is going to push that back again. And in the meantime, if you get pulled over and inspected and your logs are not current, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And so just take care of it at that moment instead of trying to push it off. I 100% agree. And that was actually one of the next ones on mine is your compliance. Making sure your compliance is where it needs to be, which in our industry, compliance means a few things. Making sure you have all the right documentation, all your truck inspection documentation, your personal qualification documentation, and the Department of Transportation's minimum requirements, safety requirements. And so making sure you're following all of those, because it does a couple things. One, it shows anybody that you interact with that you take your business seriously. But two, when you go through a weigh station or an inspection point and you aren't 100% sure that you've done everything, your stress just immediately goes through the roof. Man, please don't pull me in. Please don't inspect me. Please don't inspect me. And I've been in that situation, and I hate it. Man, I will, after you go through there, you just are sweating. Compare that to you've done everything. You know that your logs are current. You know that all your paperwork's in place. When you pull into a weigh station, if he pulls me in, it's just a time inconvenience. I already have confidence that I've done everything right. And if this is the way that I'm providing for my family and putting bread on the table, I want to limit anyone else's ability to take that away from me. I want to have as much control of my responsibility as possible. So just be on top of it. Vehicle maintenance, you already mentioned, not only just the inside, but the outside of the truck. When you pull up to a dealership and your truck just looks terrible, not just dirty, but all the wheel wells are rusting out. You've got 3 different colors on each door panel. Now, I understand sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and maybe you can't afford an $80,000 brand new truck. Most people in our industry can't. But there are things that you can definitely do to present yourself well, both in your truck and this is the next one in your appearance. We don't expect to be hiring, 22-year-old models to be delivering our trailers and speak French and have a degree from Harvard. You know what I mean? We're hiring a whole host of different backgrounds, which we really like, actually. But the way that you conduct yourself and the way that you appear has a strong reflection on the company that you represent, much less yourself. So just take care of your personal appearance side of it as well. You don't need to wear a suit, but you need to be presentable.
You almost have to act as though if I pull in and they're going to walk out to my truck and base whether they're going to hire me or not by just looking at my truck or in my truck, would you hire that person? Mike Misser was one of those guys who he drove an older truck, sometimes quite a bit older, but always looked good. It was clean. He came in clean. I mean, he would make the effort to stop and wash the truck before he went in, but it was recognized. People would recognize that, and you felt a professional.
Well, and see if this scenario rings true at any point. You pull up to a dealer, and the guy immediately comes out to inspect the trailer, to check you in, to get you taken care of. You open your passenger door to get a pen, and pop bottles fall out onto the ground. That doesn't give the best impression. Or if they peer inside your truck because you're talking and you're getting the paperwork ready, and it's just a disaster, it's embarrassing. And it doesn't reflect well. Now, no judgment on people in the way that they live in their truck, because you're living in your truck a lot of the time. A lot of drivers are. And it's difficult for it to be a pristine machine all the time. But take some time before you deliver. Stop at on the truck stop, when you're going to shower or get ready for the day, and clean out your truck a little bit.
I'm a little distracted by the pristine machine. That's like my nickname that I'd like to start going by.
Justin.
The pristine machine.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, there you go. Your new gym T-shirt slogan. Customer-focused service. I don't know. Do what you can to enhance your experience with the people you interact with. A lot of these things, there's a lot of things that we're doing as a company to try to do that. Because in the RV world, in the life of an RV, our exposure to one RV is very small. The part that we play in the RV industry is minimal. We're just transporting a new RV to a dealership. So it's, in fact, an easily looked over part of the whole supply chain. But even in that little piece that we do, there are things that we can do and that we're trying to do to enhance the customer experience. And as a driver, what are things? I mean, got to get creative sometimes, because there's not a million interactions that you have all the time. There's only a limited number. But things that you can do to just enhance that interaction. And I would be very interested to get anybody listening to this their take. So if you're a driver, or even if you're outside of our industry, things that you do to enhance that experience with your customers or people you interact with.
Which, just to add on to that a little bit, so the amount of time that you have driving, you're sitting behind a wheel just moving down the road. I think if you're trying to evolve, you have a lot of time to think. And so if we would be missing out on a big opportunity if we didn't capitalize on our 65 guys, all the ideas they have while you're just bumming down the road. I think there's also something valuable about, like, I know when I take trips, I try and balance. Sometimes I'm just jamming to music. Sometimes I'm listening to a podcast. Sometimes I'm just sitting, driving and thinking. And I think there's something good about not just always just tuning out, zoning it, but like that time can be a productive time to, I don't know, process stuff or learn stuff, listening to books and podcasts, or mixing it in between your music and all that other stuff. And so, I don't know, sometimes mix it up. Don't just zone out zombie mode for 11 hours every day.
Yeah, raw dogging it, just staring out the window with nothing coming.
And just, the only sound going on in your brain is like maybe sometimes throw in a little like mental vegetable.
Yeah. When you look at the mile marker and it's 700 miles further than the last time you remember, you probably ought to engage a little bit.
You don't just have so sometimes I do this is you just have reruns of The Office playing in your head while you're driving down the road. Like every once in a while, maybe throw in a few good nuggets in there.
Yeah.
Well, just to try to, for brevity's sake, I'll blast through some of these last ones. Embrace technology was one. There's a lot of innovations that are out there that can make your life easier, more streamlined, more fun if you're a tech person. But embrace that. It also looks professional. I don't know, when you've got when you have and you know how to use the gadgets that make your day-to-day business more efficient. Networking and relationships. This is one that, Justin, you're really good at and that I'm trying to embrace, is that any interaction that we have, even if we don't see it, we can't directly connect it to our advantageous network, we should still be trying to make good connections with people. So it might not enhance my career to have a nice conversation and try to remember the name of the assistant check-in guy at a small dealership in South Dakota. But in doing that, I think it helps us evolve, be better. And especially as the industry continues to evolve, the interactions with the people that we meet might even have some unexpected good consequence down the line. You might have a good interaction with a check-in guy, and 10 years later, he might be the general manager of that store. But that's not really the point either. The point is that the people that we're interacting with, develop a good relationship with, try to remember their name. You mentioned earlier, get the name. It's not just to hold them accountable when they don't check you in,
Right.
but it's also that you can start establishing relationships. And a lot of our drivers will go to the same dealerships several times throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can foster even just kind of micro relationships, one, I think it makes your life more enjoyable, but two, there is some advantage to that. If you show up at a dealership at 4:05 and they stop taking units at 4, but over the past 2 years, you've cultivated a relationship with a check-in guy, there's a chance that he might go outside of his regular protocol and check you in anyway.
One of the highlights for me was being in Georgia, and there's backed up way back for the check-in, and I see a guy lean, Kevin, and it's like, when I went to the front of the line, I was like,
See you, suckers.
But it's like, okay, bringing a couple of donuts paid off big time. But he went out. He didn't remember any of those other people, but he remembered me. He remembered who I was. He said, "Yeah, I saw your truck when I was pulling up to open the gate, because we're all piled in there taking naps, But anyways,
I think there's a principle that has been on my mind a lot about that. Is it's about the input, not about the output.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if you're just doing good things, it's not about what you get.
Right.
It's about what it does to you. And I just think about that in every facet of life. I enjoy hiking and being outdoors, not because I'm trying to achieve a certain goal necessarily, but because I just enjoy the process. Like I don't just have, and in every aspect of my life, I could just do the bare minimum to get the paycheck that I need to sustain my life, but I enjoy the process of trying to build something. I enjoy, everything with parenting. Like, it's about the inputs. And so just with your career, I think it's the same way. You're not using people to try and get something from people. You want to build good relationships because your life is better that way. And I think you wake up more. I think so often we're just in autopilot mode. We're on cruise control in life. And I think part of not just being professional, but just enjoying life more is just to wake up a little bit more and to focus on those inputs. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I preach that all the time.
I think we're programmed to be sycophants by nature, where we want to only develop relationships with people that are better than us or that can enhance our situation. And if there's some guy that just doesn't have it together, we don't want to be friends with them. We don't want to cultivate a relationship with them because he has nothing to offer me.
Yeah.
I think reprogramming our way out of that, of trying to just be genuine all the time. I don't know. It's easier said than done, and it sounds very fluffy, but it's over time as you practice that, I think it gets better. But not just
Yeah, and I think that's really it. It's catching yourself doing this stuff that's like, oh, I can get better at this. I can get better at this, and working on that. I do agree. It's just working at improving yourself, but enjoying the experience. Life just is so fun. But for some people, they get up in the morning and just go, oh,
mm-hmm.
And you can't control the circumstances necessarily, but
Right.
like you kind of can. It takes a long time. Some of the circumstances you can't control. You don't get to control certain medical diagnoses. Is that the word?
but you can control
diagnostics.
the process
Yeah.
of how you feel about it and are experiencing it.
Yeah.
You know, you can look at it as this really sucks, but I can learn some stuff from this.
I highly recommend, and I've probably preached this too much, but Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, I think, is
Yeah.
where he's in concentration camps, and some of the stuff that they went through, some of the worst stuff that human beings have had to go through. And he was a psychologist. And the big thing is about you get to assign the meaning. So like the control that you
Yeah.
have over, and so the little joys and those little things. And so it's a really, it's short, which I really like. I can't do those 20-hour books very well. I start to lose interest no matter how good it is for the most part. But so it's short, but it's really effective, and it's pretty inspiring. And I think most of the times
Yeah.
with things like that, or when you're listening to stuff, you rarely, maybe not rarely, but it's not like this is new information, all the stuff that we're talking about. But it's not that we need new information or it's idea. Oh, I've never thought about I should be nice to people before. It's not like you've never heard those ideas before. It's being reminded of something that you already really know. And so most of the time that we're educating ourselves in this kind of domain, it's not that we're learning a new idea. It's like, I'm not the first person to say you probably shouldn't smoke cigarettes. It's being reminded of principles that you can, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like with Victor, you know, he says, the guard can make me do things, but he can't. He
Yeah.
cannot control what goes on in my mind and the thoughts I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, we will likely, and anybody listening to this is almost certainly never going to experience nearly the difficulties that somebody like that experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And so regardless of the difficulties, because most people probably, it's like, well, it's easy for you to say, like, my life is easy. That may be true, but it doesn't change the truthfulness of the statement still that you can, you get to still respond within your own mind how you choose.
Yeah. We had a driver come in one time, and he came in asking for a trip. And he was kind of, can I get something kind of going back to Georgia? And I found out his wife was having cancer and she was in the process of dying. But he was so positive and so uplifting of a person that even though he's going through this horrible experience with his wife, it's traumatizing to him, but he wasn't going to let that ruin the whole experience of his life. And so I think it's a lot of terrible things can go on in a person's life, but how they present themselves, it makes a big difference in just day-to-day living.
Yeah. One of the takeaways from the insurance conference that we recently went to was just be the most positive person in the room, and just the effects that has. And so, like, you or Kevin are a great example. In fact, you guys are both, I need to catch up in this area, but just always positive. And when you come into a room, that positivity is very palpable. And in my mind, I'm positive, but my face doesn't show that, and my demeanor isn't like that. But being the most positive person in the room just has an effect on the people around you. But most importantly, it has an effect on you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we have to fake it, but that's okay. The fake it till you make it. I think it's important to do that regardless of our circumstances.
Yeah.
I think with one of the fundamental principles that Gateway was founded on, and I know, Kevin, you talk about this quite a bit, and we don't preach openly, and this isn't going to turn into a whatever that XM radio channel is that's like preaching about God and everything. But one of the things, and you've seen this on our signs, is, and one of the principles that Gateway was really founded on is in God we trust. And so I think, it's built into what we're trying to do, is that we try and have faith that it's going to work out, and that if we strive to be good people and run a business well, and that God will take care of us. And I think that has been the case, seeing, over the 20 years that you've been doing this, some of the stories of, we believe that divinity intervenes on our behalf. Not always the way that you want, and it doesn't always make sense, but I think that has been very helpful, I think. So I know it's quite a tangent, but it really helps with your mindset and the ability to get through things if you have maybe an appreciation. And for us, faith in God has been one of those fundamental principles.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to have hope, and you have to have. We all want meaning in our life. What is my life all about? And sitting behind a wheel day after day can almost suck your meaning out. You know what I mean? It's like all I do is just drive this truck down the road. But at the end of the day, am I a better person? I mean, it's the interactions that you're having, the interactions I've always felt like Earth Life Experience was all about us learning how to control us, how do I make Kevin better? Yeah. But hope and trust and whatever your belief is, or your faith in something, you've got to believe in something that helps carry you through the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, now my last points seem like
did we stomp all over you?
No, but they seem less.
Well, maybe you should rapid fire them off.
Okay, I'll rapid fire these ones. So financial management.
Oh.
So going straight from a faith-based thing to take care of your money.
Oh, yeah.
Financial management. You might not be in a position right now to where you're in a stable financial position. It might be that the paycheck at the end of this trip is you're really counting on that day. That could be. But the goal is to, over time, be able to be disciplined financially, to have a strategy, personal financial strategy, to where you can start to get ahead and you can kind of reinvest in yourself, reinvest in your operation, your equipment, to where you can earn more and be able to invest more. There's an effect on your professionalism, I think, on the way that you're able to manage your money.
Can I just throw in a tangent kind of on that a little bit? Because I think that's an important part of this. You can get so caught up in your finances or be so worried. I remember one time driving, and I'd had a discussion with my money manager, and we were looking at things. I owed $300,000, and that just was overwhelming to me. I was $300,000 basically in debt, and I thought, I will never live to see this paid off. And I was just worried sick about it. And then I realized there's not anything I can do about it. What I can do is decide to just keep working at it. And this is when my faith in God, it's like, God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'll keep trying to be a good person. And one day, it was quite a long while later, I looked back and we had money in the bank, and that $300,000 wasn't looming over my head, but it could be. And some people allow those. You need to know where your finances are, have a plan, how you're going to attack this, but managing that, because in this industry, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. We all figured that out, right? It always seems to be taking monies from us, but there are people that can make a living, and if you're managing your monies and it's part of it, that's when you get peace of mind, even though you're not financially where you want to be.
Yeah,
it can get there.
So if you're consistent and disciplined, I think those things start to take care of themselves. And I think this is probably just echoing your point. But whatever circumstance you're in now, have an action plan, but don't be so. And this is easier said than done. But don't be so overburdened by stress that you are. What's the word I'm looking? Immobile. That you're frozen because of your stress. Take some action, and it's usually simple and disciplined action.
Yeah, I had this in my head, a box. I called it my stress box. I would pull out all of my stresses, everything that I could think of that would just cause me stress, and then I would picture me putting it into the box and putting the lid on it and go about my day. That's hard to do, really. But
and then you mail that to your enemy, and then
yeah, take this.
Okay, well, last couple ones, just a consciousness of safety and letting that reflect in what you do and the people you interact with. If they know that you're safe, that just increases their confidence in you, a reflection of your professionalism. You mentioned this, but what formal certifications you can get? Every industry, well, most industries have some way of advancement on paper, at least. And so see what those are. The CDL, for example, is one that you can do here. But see what those are, and maybe be working at, have a plan. Maybe your goal isn't to have a CDL. Maybe your goal isn't to get a bachelor's degree. Maybe those aren't things that are in your goal that are within your reach or even in your desire, but be working towards something.
We should start giving out bachelor's degrees in RV transportation.
How do we get accredited to?
So all of our drivers can throw that out there.
Graduation
I got
ceremonies.
my
and
master's
everything.
degree in recreational vehicle transportation management.
You're hired.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds pretty good. Never heard of Gateway College before. Yeah.
And if there is a Gateway College out there, there's no intended.
Don't sue us.
Yeah. Emergency preparedness. Just be prepared for an emergency mentally, but also with equipment and know what to do. Health and wellness. You kind of already touched on this, but it is a big one. It is important, but be taking care of yourself, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. Make sure you're keeping the connections with home every day. Try your best to eat and sleep well. We've got other episodes that kind of go into more detail on this. And then the last one that I have here is very boring, I guess. I don't know. Important, but not as fun, is make sure you're insured properly. I think there's a lot of guys out there that are just hoping that nothing bad happens in a particular scenario because they know that they're not covered, or maybe they don't know that they're not covered, which it might even be worse. Make sure that you're covered. Again, peace of mind, but then also your ability to expand your personal menu of services can expand. But if nothing else, know where you're at.
I think you need to have those conversations. I mean, if you're not even sure, come in and visit with someone in here who, because we've been doing this a long time and we've seen all kinds of variations of insurances and things, and there's some things that work and some don't. I've always felt like if at the end of the day, at least am I protected? What happens if? I always use what happens if you get run over a busload of nuns? Who's going to pay for what? And
I'm not laughing at the busload of nuns. Sorry.
Well, you got to picture what's the very worst situation.
Where were the nuns going? Sorry.
Yeah. It was a jolly day.
Well, not that you hit it's not a jolly day when
you're hitting the bus full of nuns.
I
might edit this bus full of my part of the bus full of nuns part out.
In case you run for public office in the future.
He hates nuns.
We don't. Gateway.
No, we love all nuns.
Gateway likes nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, on that note.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening. And if you have any ideas, send them to us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thanks.